Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and this channel is chronicling my journey of living my best life with multiple chronic health conditions. Today I'm just going to give a hopefully quick medical update as I did have 2 specialist appointments this past week. First I saw my cardiologist at Cleveland Clinic, and as expected, not much happened. There were some things said that make me not want to see them again. So we talked about the presumed TIA, and he is also sort of baffled about why that happened. So he wants me to send him the neurology report when I see neurology in January. And if neurology thinks it's like a cardiac cause, like maybe I had some AFib and that caused a clot that went to my brain, like that I should be on like a Holter monitor for a couple weeks. None of that was brought up when I was in the hospital. I was on the monitor in the hospital, so I'm assuming there was no AFib. He did seem surprised they did not do an echocardiogram when I was in the hospital to see if there were any clots. But that was months ago, so really nothing that can be done at this point. Then we did talk about the cardiac biopsy that I had done, and he also does not think it's the Plaquenil. But then he made a comment saying that my heart is fine and that I have my body has trouble regulating like fluid balance, which really baffled me because my cardiac biopsy showed like moderate hypertrophy, fibrosis, lysosomal toxicity. Like, I'm a little confused as to where the whole "your heart is fine" comment came from. So at this point, I do not have a follow-up appointment with him. I'm supposed to let him know what the neurologist says when I see the neurologist in January, and I guess go from there. There is no scheduled follow-up for me to physically go to Cleveland Clinic. So, not sure if I will continue to see them or if I will just stay with my local cardiologist. But yeah, the whole "your heart is fine" kind of baffled me. He did say that I might as well stop taking the Entresto because half a tablet once a day probably isn't doing anything and I haven't noticed a difference. I have stopped, but it is currently, I'm recording this on Thanksgiving. So I will message my local cardiologist and see if they agree with that, because I had mentioned that to her also, like, is this even worth doing? And she had said yes, so don't know who to believe, what to do in that regard. But I will send her a message once the holidays are over and see what she says. And then the other doctor I saw was an endocrinologist, because when I was wearing the Dexcom Stelo, they called it a biosensor, not a continuous glucose monitor, because it is not for a clinical population. My readings ranged from, I think it was like 39 to 312. And of course I do know that continuous glucose monitors aren't necessarily all that accurate, but the fact that the range was so large is definitely worth looking into, which is why I made the appointment, and the specialist did agree. So I am getting my yearly lab work done for my primary doctor tomorrow, which in hindsight was not the best to schedule it for the day after Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate with anyone, but I did order sort of a Thanksgiving dinner from a restaurant here that was doing it, so I do have like turkey, stuffing, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna try to not go hog wild today. I did have some of it yesterday. To be honest, it wasn't, maybe I just wasn't in the mood, but wasn't like the best I've ever had. But anyway, so I'll have lab work tomorrow. As far as blood sugar wise, I am getting another A1C. When I was in the hospital for the presumed TIA, it was 4.9. So we'll see what the difference is from September. Then I'm also getting like a comprehensive metabolic panel, so we'll see what my fasting glucose is. I'm also getting fasting insulin. And then the endocrinologist also ordered fructosamine, which is kind of a shorter version of A1C. It's over the past couple weeks versus the past few months. I've never had that test, so that will be interesting. And he also ordered a C-peptide, which I actually haven't even looked into to see what that test is. Let me see if I can do that real quick. But those were the tests that he ordered that were different from what my primary doctor ordered. So apparently it's a byproduct of insulin production, and it can measure how much insulin the body's producing, and could be good for distinguishing between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. He did mention the possibility of me having a sort of what people are calling like type 1.5 diabetes, which is an autoimmune condition that presents in adulthood called latent autoimmune diabetes of the adult, or LADA. He did not want to test for that right off the bat. He wanted to see where all of my other tests fall, and if everything is normal, I think it was. He said we were going to do like an oral glucose tolerance test, as well as, I think he said we'd also do the LADA testing. I have a follow-up with him on December 13th, so we'll discuss all my lab results at that time and sort of decide where to go from there. But it would not surprise me if we end up doing the oral glucose tolerance test, because historically my A1C is good, though he did mention I've been anemic in the past, or my hemoglobin has been either low or on the lower side of normal, and that can affect the A1C because it is hemoglobin A1C, so how much of it is binding to the hemoglobin. So if there's less hemoglobin around, that's going to mess up the number. So that'll be really interesting to sort of see where that goes. I don't think I have any major appointments coming up anytime soon. I'm still seeing the dietitian every week. That will probably stop going into the new year. I do see my rheumatologist also on December 13th, and that's more going to be because I'm off the Plaquenil to see how I'm doing. I'm going to see if she'll refer me to someone at Hopkins, which is where most of my other doctors are now, just so I can keep it sort of all in the same spot. Other than the rheumatologist, I see my primary doctor on the 17th, and I know I see my psychiatric nurse practitioner sometime in December as well. For some reason it's not in my phone. Haven't been writing everything in my phone recently because I don't go anywhere, so I don't really need to check my phone. I can always check my planner, my paper planner, for appointments, but I do need to get everything synced up apparently. And that's really all that's going on. Lots of lab work for my primary doctor. We'll talk about that when I get the results back. I'm also hoping on Monday to go get the Nutraval test done again for the third time and see if things are improved. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. And that just gives a lot of information about like mitochondrial functioning, methylation factors, and like all of this stuff, because my primary doctor is a functional medicine doctor, so she sort of looks at things from a different lens a lot of the time. So that'll be interesting. So lots and lots of test results in the next month, and I will keep you guys up to date on that. And I hope you guys are having a good day whenever it is you are seeing this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.